Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on part 3 of this video. And today what we're going to do is to add some annotation objects to this drawing. In particular, dimensions and a couple of text. So it's not going to be a full comprehensive video today because it would be too long. And I don't want the video to be very long. So I'm going to try my best to put as much inside of this as possible. Alright, so all of that coming up after this. Alright, so in the last video what we did was to create our annotation styles. Alright, so if you missed that video you need to go back and you need to watch it because this is a crucial step in the process. Alright, so that's done and so we're ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is to set our scale. Alright, so in the last video I set the scale at 1 in 50, but I've decided to change it to 1 in 25. And the reason for that is because the drawing is really small. This is a very small building. And so if we use the 1 in 50 scale, it would be a little bit too small on the paper. So I kind of dropped the scale a little bit, which would make the drawing bigger on the paper. All right. And that would give us enough space to make our dimensioning and our notes show clearly. All right, you'll see what I mean later on. So we're going to leave it at 1 in 25. And the third thing you're going to do is to create a layer to add your dimensions to. So I have a layer here called dim. All right, so I'm going to click on it. And now that layer is active. I can now go ahead and add dimensions to that layer. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to click on our drop down and we're going to choose the linear option. Click on that. And we're going to start at the edge of the building to the start of that window. And we're going to pull it up just outside of the roof and click. So we have our first dimension. For those of you who don't know, a dimension consists of 4 parts. Okay, we have the text itself. We have the dimension line, which is this top line here. We have the arrows. These are called arrowheads. And then we have the dimension lines. All right. All right. So what we're going to do is to continue on this dimension. So what you do is to click on it, right click and say continue. Or if you're not seeing that option, you would go back to, let's say, highlight that. You go back to the drop down and you can click on continue right here. So we'll do that. So now you can see we're actually continuing from where we left off. So we're going to do that and we're going to click on the edge of that window and then the edge of this wall. And then we're done for that. So what we have here is what is called a chain dimension. As you can see, a chain dimension is a series of dimensions lined up beside each other, giving us the distance between points. So we know how far the window is from the edge of the wall. We know how wide the window is. And we also know the size of this part as well. All right. And so we're going to add another chain dimension above this one. So let's go back to our linear option. And this time, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this edge of the wall. And then I'm going to click on this portion of the wall because I want to capture the thickness of the wall. So I do like so. And then I'm going to continue this dimension just like we did with the first one. So continue. And we're going to go all the way over to the inside of this wall. And then we're going to click the corner of that wall. Enter. So now the second chain has the thickness of the wall here, and then it gives us the width of the room, and then it gives us the thickness of the other wall on this side. So that's what you would put on your second chain. All right, now this, I don't like this coming down like so, so I'm going to pull it up. By the way, the only reason why I brought it all the way down here is because I do not have the wall thickness here. I can't capture the wall thickness here, so I had to bring it down and then I can bring it back up. All right, same thing for this. Oops. So I'm going to bring that up. And then we're going to add a third chain to this dimension. So what we do is going to click on our linear again, and we're going to click on that corner, and then we're going to click on this corner. Boom, just like that. So what we're looking at here is 3 chain dimensions on top of each other. And this is how you would dimension the exterior of a building. All right. So when you're doing a house plan or anything like that, the exterior walls outside of the building, this is how you'd go about adding dimensions to it. The first chain would capture openings like windows, doors, and so on. The second chain would capture walls. So as you can see, it only captures the wall here, and it goes over to the other wall. And then the third chain would capture the overall distance. All right. Good. Now, there's actually an easier way to do this. All right. And I'm going to show you the easier way because I believe in the easier method of doing things. So there's a very, very easy way we could do this by using what is called the AEC dimensions. We're going to click on it, and it says down here, select object. So all we need to do is to select the wall. I'm going to do this side now, and I'm going to just select the wall and hit enter. And just like that, I can pull the dimension out where I want to and click. So I'm going to click just about here. And just like that, it gives me all the dimensions I need. So this first chain should only capture opening. As you can see, it captures the wall here, and I don't need the wall. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on this little dash right here. So it takes it away just like that. So now I have from the wall to the opening, I have the width of that opening, and then I have the width of that wall, and then I have the remainder of the opening here. So that's perfect, what I needed for that dimension. And we can do the same thing again for the second chain. So we're going to click on it, and we're going to click on the wall again, enter, and drag it out. And let's say, look at the distance. How far did we drag that one out? About here. All right, there's no, once you just eyeball it and it looks somewhat close, that's fine. All right, now if you notice on the second chain, we have a lot of things that we don't need. So let's remove what we don't need. So I'm going to click on it, and we don't need the openings, so we're going to remove these, but we do need the wall here, and we also need the wall here as well. So it didn't give us that, so we're going to add it. Now we go to add extension line, and we want to add this point here. So we're going to click on that point, and then we're going to press enter, and then we're going to click on this. We want to add it to this chain. So click on it, and now it is being added to that chain. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing again for the third chain, which should give us the overall distance. But of course, it's going to give us everything, and we're going to just remove what we don't need. So let's just click on these and remove all of those. And now we have 3 chains of dimension, just like the one we did up here. Now, there are a couple of things that you might notice about using AEC dimensions. First thing is that it is on a separate layer by itself. It is on a pink layer, which is not the same layer as our original layer. And that's because when you use the AEC tools, any of these, AutoCAD will create a layer for you. So my recommendation is, if you're going to use these guys here, you don't have to create a layer. So you wouldn't need to create a dim layer if you were going to use these guys here. All right. The second thing we notice here is that these texts are not following our text style. All right. And that's because if you click on the drop down here, we see a settings button here called AEC dimension style. And earlier we did not mess around with this. So I'm going to show you how to fix this. So we're going to click on it, and it looks complicated, but it's really not. We're going to click on standard, and we're going to override these three top options here. So we have the plan, high detail, and low detail. We're going to override these. So we click on the override button, and we go over to the others tab, and we're going to switch our dimension style to style 2, just like that. How easy is that? And we're going to do the same thing for these here. I mean, if you want, you could override the rest of them, but these are the top 3 ones that we want to do. All right, and we hit OK. And now we can see that our dimensions are now following these ones here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move these guys onto the same layer as these, just to get them to be uniform. So that would be this layer. All right, so they look alike. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for this wall and that wall. So you can pause the video and do it on your own, or you can just watch. Yeah, don't need that, don't need that, but we do need that corner and that corner. Enter, and we're going to add it to this guy right here. Yes, so we're going to select that again, select the wall, enter, drag it down just like that, and then we're going to remove these from here. All right, so we have the second wall done, and we're going to do the that's the third wall actually, and then we're going to do the final one. Should be this guy here. Pull it out just outside of the door. Looks like we have everything on that. I'm gonna do another one, enter, drag it out, remove what we don't need. Oops, we do need that one. We don't need that, we don't need that, and we don't need that. But we do need this corner here. I'm gonna add it to the second dimension. And then we need an overall dimension. Of course, we're going to remove everything from that. All right, so just like that, we are through getting our dimension all around the building. The good thing about using the AEC dimensions is that when you click on a chain like this, it is all selected at once. If I try to do the same thing here, these are all broken into separate dimensions. All right, this is painful because let's say I wanted to move all of these back closer to the building. I can simply drag these down and they all would move together using the arrow like so. All right, so this is the good thing about using AEC dimensions. The second thing would be if we chose to, let's say we chose to widen this window out some more, what will happen is that the dimension will also move with the window. You get what I'm saying? How beautiful is that? So no longer do we have to move stuff manually. Once we adjust the size of the window or the door and so on, the dimensions would move along with the window. All right, which is not the case with this. If I try to move this window, look at that. Now I'd have to manually drag these over to match. All right, so now I'm going to add some leaders. So we're going to click on our drop down, multi-leader, and I'm going to add a little label right here, probably like so. I'll call this gable and roof, you know, just to show you how it works. I'm gonna kind of move this closer. And then I'm going to put another one. Where is it? Right here. Call this corner. All right, let's call it fixed corner window. All right. And we could add a text inside here. Normally you would label the room. We're going to call this guardhouse. I don't know, something like that. I'm going to just move him. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to add a title now. So we go over to annotate and we go across to title. And if you click on the drop down, you'll see two different types. I'm going to use the one without the numbering. So click on that and then I'm going to draw a line where I want my title right there. Double click because we're going to edit the title. We're going to call this guardhouse plan. And then we're going to click on the scale and we're going to call this. This is a scale of 1 in 25. I'm going to hit OK. So now we have our title right there. All right. Now, if you notice, when I put the mouse over any of these annotation objects, you see the little 3-point star popping up. And that is telling us that these objects are annotative, which means that there's a scale added to these objects. And you might wonder what scale we're talking about. The very same scale that you chose down here. Okay, so if I should click on, let's say I click on this leader right here and I go over to properties, you can see that, where is it at? The annotative scale applied to this object is 1 in 25. And the same goes for everything that we've just added. So if I should click on this guy right here, another way that you can check is to click on the object and go to add delete scales, or right click and you would see the same options down here. Add a delete scale, and then we see a list here of all the scales that are applied to that object. Currently, there's only the 1 in 25 scale applied, and that's what we need. Okay, so that's all we need. Okay, boom. Now, the thing is, if we should change our scale from, let's say, 1 in 25 to 1 in 10, everything disappears because we haven't placed anything on a 1 in 10 scale as yet. Everything so far is on our 1 in 25 scale. You get the drift? All right. So that is how it works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the 1 in 10 scale and I'm going to add some additional details to this corner window right here. And look how simple it is. So I'm going to say 1 in 10 and then I'm going to add some dimensions to this. So let's go back over to home and we're going to use the same AEC, but this time we're going to pick points. I just want to show you how it works. So pick points. And then we're going to pick the points that we want to dimension. So we want to dimension this window here, which is, this window is a awning window. And then we want to capture the rest of this window. Then we're going to hit enter. And I'm going to place this dimension about there. All right, so there we have a chain dimension showing us the width of that window and also the width of this window. I want to add another one. Let's pick 2 more points. I want to add an overall dimension. So pick the 2 points and hit enter. So this is another way of adding dimensions. You can pick points. So now we have an overall, and then I'm going to do the same thing for this portion. So pick points. I'm going to pick these 2 points, enter, click. Again, these are AEC dimension styles, so we can drag it up and down like so. All right, they are all connected. I'm going to add a title as well to this. So go for to annotate, title. I'm going to say double click, corner window detail. Let's call it that. Oh, scale would be 1 in 10. Okay. All right. I'm going to add a label to this here. And I'm going to say, where is it? Let's go back over and use our leader. I'm going to say awning window. All right. But I want to add another label to this that says fixed corner window, just like we had before. So I'm going to go back over to our 1 in 25 scale. Now, if you notice, when we go back over, all of our 1 in 10 stuff disappear. All right. And that's beautiful. That's what we want. Because when we're working in 1 in 50 or 1 in 25 rather, we don't want to see the 1 in 10 stuff. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually add the 1 in 10 scale to this particular object so that I can see it when I switch over. Just watch. So right now I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to add and delete scale. And I'm going to add another scale to it. I'm going to add 1 in 10. So now we have 2 scales on this object. So if I should click on it, or if I put the mouse over it like so, you can see that we have 2 stars now, which is telling us that there are 2 scales on this object. So when I click on it, you can see like a shadow in the background of the 1 in 10 text. All right. So we're going to leave that there. We're going to go back over to 1 in 10. And now we have the 1 in 10 option of this very same text. So when you click on the 1 in 10, you will see a shadow of the 150. All right, but don't pay that no mind. We're going to pay attention to the 1 in 10 version. So we're going to actually move the 1 in 10 version to where we want it. So I'm going to kind of line it up with that, kind of guesstimate it. And I'm going to move the arrowhead up a little bit so that looks there. So now I have that text in 2 different places. I have it here on the 1 in 10 scale, and I also have it down here on the 1 in 25. So now you can see the shadow of the 1 in 25 scale. I can't edit that, but I can only edit the 1 in 10 version. All right. So it's a little technical. It might take a little brain power to learn all of this, but trust me, once you learn it, it's a game changer. So you would do this very same thing for everything that you're doing. So if you're going to do something, let's say we're going to add some dimensions to this little drawing right here. The first thing you would need to do is to change your scale. We're going to use a 1 in 5. All right. Set your scale first. Always remember that. And then we're going to say add some dimensions. We're going to select some objects and we're going to hit enter. And then we just pull out our dimensions just like that. It's simple. All right, guys. All right. So what if we wanted to see all the dimensions at once? Now, this can be confusing, so I don't recommend that you do it. But let us say you want to see everything, the 1 in 10 objects as well as 1 in 25 objects. Now, this is where you would turn on the donut. So we click on it. And once you do that, you can now see everything. You can see the 1 in 25s and you can also see the 1 in 10s. All right. And but remember now, I don't recommend you do this. This can be confusing. So I would prefer if you just turn it off and work with it one at a time. All right. So just bear that in mind. All right, so once all that is done, then we need to add these drawings to a sheet. If you don't know how to do this, I have a video that will show you how to set up your sheet and add drawings. So here we are, we have a viewport window, and if you notice, we're not seeing anything on the sheet, or rather no annotation objects on the sheet. And that's because we are not on a scale. So we need to set the scale, which is 1 in 25. and everything on the 1 in 25 scale would now show up once you click on it. All right, and that's as simple as it is. So I'm gonna just resize this box a little bit so it looks a little better. Now I'm gonna copy this viewport and rescale it so that we can get the window details. All right, so just like that. And then we're going to change the scale in this window to the 1 in 10, which is for our window details. So now you can see that only what is on the 1 in 10 scale is now showing. So all I need to do now is just resize that box to kind of get rid of the excess stuff. You know what I mean? Get rid of the thing that when I want. All right, that looks just about good. All right, and then I'm gonna kind of move it down a little bit so that it kind of lined up with the next drawing, something like that. So now we're gonna go to print preview and look at this, how it would look when we print it out. And look at that, how beautiful is that? We have a 1 in 10 scale drawing and we have a 1 in 25, but still our annotations are looking perfect. We have our dimension styles, we have our text styles, we have everything looks good, perfect. And that is how you do it, people. That is how you do it. Alright guys, so that's it for this video today. I really hope that you learned something. This should get you started on a pretty good note. So if you have any questions at all, just drop them in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. And I'll be doing a much more in-depth video in the future. Maybe I should say videos, because these videos tend to go very long, especially when you're trying to explain everything in detail. So I'm trying. I really hope you learned something. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and share, comment, like, all of that. All right, so big up on yourself.